It's Paul Mike again here, the Virtual Investors. And in this video, we're going to go over what type of properties you can buy at auction, right? There's a lot of different ones. I'm going to let Mike go through each of these step by step for you guys. We'll talk a little bit about them and go from there.
Yeah. And this is thanks to Zome here. We're sharing their website on types of properties that you can buy through Zome platform. It's going to be pretty similar to the other auction sites out there as well. You know, there's plenty of national ones, about 8 of them, like the auction.com is a big one, the Hubzoobs of the world, etc. So there's usually when you go to an auction, there's an asset type, they'll call it, or property type, and you can filter on based on these types of properties. Bank owned is the first one that we'll cover here. And some people call them REOs or real estate owned, but essentially this property already went through the traditional foreclosure process where the owner stopped paying their mortgage. They went through the eviction process and went through sheriff's sale. All liens are wiped clean, and now the bank owns it outright. So you'll hear them either called bank owned or REO type properties. And a lot of times when these are types of properties that Paul and I target, they're clean title. A lot of times they're vacant. So these are kind of our bread and butter properties that we target. And a lot of times, I mean, not a lot of times, all times are going to be sold as is. So whatever pictures you see online, that is what it is. They're not making any improvements, and you could do your analysis based on the condition as is with that bank property. Anything to add there, Paul?
Nah, I mean, you pretty much wrapped it up there. There are some that may be occupied, so keep that in mind as well.
Yep.
So, and that's a gamble with that, but generally an occupied property, you will get a 25% discount compared to a traditional vacant property.
Yeah, good points. Now, the next filter you'll see as I scroll here is non-bank owned properties. So these are, properties that let's just say an investor might have bought a property, fixed it up, and it's vacant, and he might, instead of listing it on the MLS, just want to get rid of it quickly and list it on auction. And maybe the buyer is an owner occupant or a turnkey investor type of thing, if it is occupied with a tenant. So there's another filter out there for banks that aren't, or for properties that aren't owned by a bank.
Yeah, and some of them could be owned by hedge fund too. And sometimes hedge funds will buy in certain areas and then start selling some of their inventory over time.
Yep. The next one that's becoming more and more popular on the different auction sites over the years, they're labeled different ways. Most are called second chance foreclosure properties, or CWCOT, which stands for Claims Without Conveyance of Title. And it's just basically a program that gives buyers a chance to purchase HUD-backed, cash-only kind of foreclosure properties through the online auction. So you're not going to get access to these properties. So there's no interior access. A lot of times there's no photos of these properties online. So unless you're local, you're trying to peek into windows or find an agent, if you're not local, to try to peek into windows, and it could be the agent on the sale for you. So more risk at these, but at the same time, if you win them, you're going to get them at a nice discount as well. So yeah, we've purchased plenty of these over the years and currently do today.
Yeah, we've been buying quite a few of these over the past couple of years. And I think we just keep buying more and more because their inventory is increasing more and more. And, back when they first started this program, their pricing was usually too high, right? And they were very rigid with their pricing. Seems like over the past year or so, Mike, that they've come down to a little bit more reality, and they're offering better pricing than they have in the past, which is why we've picked up so many.
Yeah. And another benefit why I kind of like these as well is you don't pay a buyer's premium on these properties as you do some other properties. So like for the REO properties we mentioned earlier, you might pay a 5% buyer's premium on that. So on a $100K purchase, you're paying an extra $5,000 to the auction company on that. Whereas these CWCOT properties, a lot of times those buyer's premiums are waived, so that you could factor that into your pricing as well.
It's a great point. Great point. Yeah. We do enjoy them for that as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And then there's also foreclosure. I can't talk. Foreclosure trustee properties. So these are, properties that are overseen by a third party who handles the foreclosure process. And depending on the state, trustee might be an individual, an attorney, et cetera. And in these certain states, you could bid on these foreclosure auctions online, but a lot of them are actually held, in person at that location as well. These aren't properties that Paul and I target, but again, it's another type of asset class that the auction companies have.
Yeah. And, when you're looking at these, there could be a lot of liens against these properties, right? Or you're at least going to have that mortgage. So they're selling them there, but there's going to be a mortgage amount that's on there. And if it's a really low amount, I mean, it might be something worthwhile for you if there aren't a whole lot of other liens on there. But again, there's just so many unknowns in this, which is why Mike and I don't dabble too much in these, but there are opportunities. We do know other investors who do focus on these types of properties.
Yep. Yeah. And then, lastly, it's short sale properties. So this is probably less common in today's world than it was maybe in the OOs in early tens. But essentially, if a property is worth $200,000 and the loan is $250,000, that's called like underwater. You owe more than what the property's worth. And a way to make an offer of, let's just say, going back here, the loan's 250K, the as-is value of the property is 200, and you want to buy the property for 200 or less, the bank has to approve that because they're basically wiping away that debt. Anything that your offer price is to the 200K outstanding loan balance, that is called the short sale process. So you can make the offer, you could be the winning bid on that property. However, it's subject to the bank on whether they want to eliminate that debt or not on the property.
Yeah, as you said, they're just not as common as they used to be, but eventually if we hit a down cycle, they might become a little bit more common again. But there are opportunities out there, and generally they aren't always as distressed as other properties are, right? They're generally occupied still for the most part, unless it was an investment property. But most of the time, these will be in a little bit better condition as well.
Yeah, good point. Well, hope you guys got some value from, what types of properties that you can buy at auction. Hoping they kind of demystify some of these filters that you see on the auction sites. And again, if you have any additional questions, feel free to ask me and Paul in the comments section below.
Okay. Thanks, guys. We'll catch you next video.